All right. Welcome to Conversations on the Socials. Me and Paulina are going to have a chat today. We are on a very interesting journey together. We've met through a number of different avenues. Our lives continue to intertwine, don't they?
They do.
And Paulina and I, as well as Kirsty and Ruth, who you've already met, are working together within the umbrella of Newcastle Compassionate Communities to bring to Newcastle an event called Death Over Drinks. So we're trying to bring to the table this conversation about end of life and making it a little bit more common conversation so that people can come to their end of life and come to their loved one's end of life with a little bit more confidence and bring to the table a bit of maybe more of an open mind. Would you say that, Paulina, do you think?
I think maybe an open mind. I would love an open mind, but I really would love just a little bit more knowledge and a little bit, if we can get to the place where we've got different generations talking about this and people openly talking about dying well before they need to. So, and so I really, in a perfect world, and I'm often accused of living in Paulina land, but in a perfect world, I would love this to be commonplace as everything else we talk about when we're with friends, and think and be educated so you can make those decisions and then, of course, share those decisions. And really, that's what we're after. We want, because it's going to happen to all of us.
It is. I know. And I think that's our culture has not supported us to really have that in the foreground of our living experience, is the fact that this living experience is impermanent.
Yes.
And I think I feel personally in my life, going through the things I've gone through, is that having the presence, the concept of death being imminent in the foreground of my mind helps me live in brave ways that I might not have, and do things that I wouldn't have, like even doing these kind of things, right? Like starting this conversation on the social, like, your mind's like, well, who the hell are you to be on there, yarning away like you think you know everything. But then on the other hand, there's another part of me that says, but don't worry about it, Kate. We'll all be dead soon. It really doesn't matter. So I'm still going to do things, right?
Yes. And maybe that's good. And just because we're talking about it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So just because I talk about winning a lotto doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same with death. And funeral. So I'm a funeral director and celebrant. And funerals that I've done where the person who has passed has been part of the planning has a completely different feel. And it's the immediate family. So the closest to the person who's passed, they can sit with their grief, and it doesn't take away the sadness. Saying a final goodbye, it's really emotional. Saying your final goodbyes to everyone, it's not going to fix any of that. That's something we have to go through with our grief, and our processes we all feel it differently. But what does go away with that planning and with knowing the person who has passed has told you what they wanted and you can deliver that, all of that second guessing, all of those rush decisions, it goes away. And there's such a peace in knowing that they would have loved that. This is what they wanted. And, I've had some beautiful, beautiful ceremonies out of the country, on the farm. The family and community have all come together. Just beautiful. Just your heart. Well, my heart was full with the outpouring of love and affection and the community spirit that was at this funeral. And at the end, when I was saying goodbye, the two daughters of the woman who have passed, they both said to me as I was hugging them and said, I hope she would have been happy with that. And I'm thinking, of course she would have been. Oh my gosh. But they still had doubt. And that for me is sad, So if we can share what we want with our loved ones, and do that in an informed way, so we're at peace with it as well, I just think it's such a gift for everybody involved.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's I think you and I and Bern were having a conversation about this the other day. Is it certainly has been my experience for sure, that being able to know what my mum's wishes were and then being able to give her that means that the grief, the weight of this grief is significantly lighter than the weight of the grief in other circumstances in my life where I didn't have those opportunities. So I can't recommend it enough.
Yes, and you're living proof, and it's, and you could still, because we love them so much, you could still do so much. You could put so much into an amazing farewell, but there's still that doubt, which is completely gone, and grief is huge. And going through the beginning of that process at that ceremony, whatever it is, and however elaborate or pared back it is, that's a really important part of that grieving process. So, we want those that are most that are in the most grief to be able to do that. And we're just asking for a conversation. We're not, I'm certainly not recommending everyone goes out and has a pre-planned funeral. If you want to do that, you can, but that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is just being informed and starting to think about what you would like, and then of course you keeping it to yourself as a secret isn't helping anyone, so please share it.
Sharing it, that's right, sharing it. Yeah. And how would you describe your kind of approach to being a funeral director? Because I've had involvement with funeral homes and different directors, and we've done things differently and whatever. What do you think you bring to the space that's a bit different to the sort of usual standard funeral director type services that are around?
I guess when you say the words usual and standard, I get all icky. I think as humans, we are all so very different. And, look at how we celebrate a birth. Look at how we celebrate a baby coming into the world. Well, a death is as poignant, if not more. And we, and it is something we're all guaranteed it's going to happen. So I guess I get a little sad when the percentages and numbers don't stick in my head, but the percentages of unexpected deaths in Australia is really low compared to the percentage of expected deaths.
Yeah.
But we're also surprised and we're not ready. So with, I guess, that shock and not being prepared and of course the grief that goes with it, with a lot of traditional funeral directors, it's all done for you. And how convenient. So you go in and it's picked A, B, C, or D. This is how much it is. Here are our coffins. We can do this and we'll do all of that for you. And certainly I do everything for my clients, but it's when they've got a choice of doing whatever. I say there are some legal things we have to do. It's mostly paperwork. There's a few limitations with what we can do, but other than that, the sky's the limit. So I guess my philosophy is I really want to enable people to have choice. I want them to know they have time. Some things, depending on what you want to do, there are some time limits, but there's always a way around. And I really want people to think about the importance of this. This is something that they can dedicate some of them to and really celebrate that person in their way. And again, I'm not talking about elaborate, the most beautiful funerals, and I'm taking it from a sideline, are the ones that are most pared back because they're authentic and it is, we're farewelling someone. So I guess I like to think I'm very different because I like to take cookie cutter out of it, and it's really, what do you want?
Yeah.
And here are so many options. So I've done lots of funerals in backyards. I've done them on farms. I've done them at historic one we did at a historic site in Newcastle, and it did have all the bells and whistles because that's really, really what the family wanted, and it was just amazing. I've done them in parks, so yeah, that's what I love.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think, just as you're talking there, and I'm, my own experiences are sort of coming and going, and I'm thinking, it's like when that person has gone or passed that you loved so much, it's almost like you feel the urge to rush through it because it's so very painful that you just want it to be over. So you can sort of be tempted to just rush through it and okay, let's just get this over with, because it's almost like your nervous system feels like, when I just get to the end of this, when I get this all done and they're buried or cremated or whatever, and then I can not feel like this anymore. But it's just not the way it goes. That's when you think, oh, maybe, I wish I'd really put the brakes on. Maybe I should have done this, or maybe I should have done, or you feel like you needed more time. So yeah, I guess I feel like if I had an opportunity for someone to come in on some of my other experience and say, hey, we actually really don't need to rush through this, I actually recommend that we put the brakes on and think about some of these other options.
Yes.
I wonder what would have happened. Yeah.
Yes. And that's the first thing I said. So when we get that first phone call, and it's like, and you can just hear it in their voices, it's, oh my gosh, this has happened. What do I do? You know? And it really is. They often given a little bit of information. So if it's, say, your person passes in a hospital, and the hospitals are generally great, and they give you some information, and there's some checklists, and it's just this whole tick, tick, tick. And of course, we want to keep busy. It's, the last thing we want to do generally is stop and feel, because like you've said, it's so uncomfortable. It's not a nice place to be. It's really uncomfortable. And I'm just thinking about family I'm working with right now this morning, and it was, their phone call was rush. And when they rang, first of all, it was like, no, just want to get this done, And today, our face-to-face meeting was very different, because I'd sent them some information, and it was, there is no rush. There's no reason to rush here. We've got this amount of time. These are some things to consider. We'll talk. If you don't get to read before I get there, that's okay, because we can go through it then. If you'd like to do some pre-reading, here we go. Like I'm talking about shortlist. But and then today there were a few times where we want to do this, and then it was, oh, I'm not really sure. That's okay.
Yeah.
Have some time, think about it. I'll send you some more information to support it so you can make an informed decision. And it is. And at each stage where we were rushing, we're talking about the process. When we slow down the conversation, we're talking about the person.
Yeah.
And that's important here. Yes, there are some things to do, but that's the easy stuff. The checklist actually of what we have to do. And I'm never saying that this is an easy process to go through. It's not at all. And I'm not even talking about the emotional side of it. There is a lot to do. I mean, we have wills and probate and all of that. I get that is huge. But right here and right now, saying your farewell is what I'm talking about. We don't need to rush.
I'm just wondering too, because a lot, like most people have spent, I wouldn't say, I don't know what the statistics are either, but I guess a lot of us might be spending a bit of time in a medical institution of some type leading up to your final exhale.
Yes.
And then they're in a rush, So I wonder if that sets the pace, because the hospital or the hospice or whatever, they have their own things that they need to, because they've got a very big demand on them.
Yes.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what has set the pace, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, right. We've actually got to go, keep going. But maybe that's not the case.
That is a great observation, and it really depends on where your person has passed. So, if your person has passed at a hospital that has a morgue, there's really not a rush. So, 7 days is, and that's just the number, right? So we're all people, we can change things. So 7 days really is it for your person to then be transferred to the mortician and then on to what's coming next. But if your person passes in a hospice or and if they're in care, well, sometimes the coroner gets involved. So then they in Newcastle, they'll be then taken to another hospital. But if they're in an aged care facility, well, they don't have anywhere to keep them for a long period of time, because we need to keep the person who's passed, we need to keep them really cool. So there can be a rush there on the staff. But there's another side of that too, and this is something that I'm working with. So I'm aligned with a company, so I'm my own business, but I'm aligned with a company called Picaluna, and we are going out to aged care facilities and we're talking to their staff, because their staff often, they're there to keep us healthy and keep us alive. And once we've passed, it's a bit of we don't know what to do. So we're helping them, and we're giving them the language, and we're giving them the training, and also some self-help for them. Because sometimes they've spent a lot more time with this person than the family had. So it is, and we, there's trauma involved in that as well. So I think you're on the button there, where there's a lot of learning here, and I really do think sometimes there's a bit of urgency. But with that urgency, then when you contact the funeral director, I would hope that urgency would stop, because there might be a little bit of urgency depending on where your person has passed to get them into the facility. But that's into a morgue, right, where then they can be looked after properly. Yeah. And then there should be a slowdown there with your funeral director. There's no rush. You've got your person in a safe space. They're with us. Now let's just breathe and talk about what you want to do.
And if someone wanted to take a different path, as in, what we did, where we don't want to go to a morgue, we want to do vigil, home vigil, wherever vigil, where we look after the body ourselves.
Yes.
Is that something that you or other like-minded funeral directors could do, or would we only be able to do that with a doula? Like, would it be a combined effort, or how does that work?
Absolutely, it can be a combined effort. So I'm not a doula, and I'm not a doula yet, I should say, because everyone talks to me about being a doula, and I know some amazing doulas, so I wouldn't mind joining them as well. But I can certainly funeral directors can work with doulas. It's just the family, the care of the person while they're with the family, that would be a doula. So I have doulas that I work with, and I love that idea. I've said to my family that whatever happens to me, I want to be able to come home. And my husband was a bit, what do you mean? And don't
worry, we got you if that happens. You got a good team.
I know. I've got a great team. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. But, I said, okay, well, we have to talk about this, because I don't want to be doing anything that makes him feel uncomfortable. And of course, my home is his home. So, we actually haven't had that discussion again. So thank you. Now I know what we're talking about this weekend. So, but it's, and I would lean on doulas to do that for me. And doulas, end-of-life doulas are amazing in that there's such a variety to what they do and how they do it, but the one thing they all have in common is that care. Is that
end-of-life body care?
Because yes, the end-of-life body care, but also the care for the family, and it's just and it is very, very well. It's different for us. Well, I shouldn't say us. For myself, thinking of having a person who has passed in the house, when it could just be, okay, well, they're taken away. But this is how it used to be, and even now you go to countries and there are people burning on the beach, where people are swimming in the ocean. So, so I really think in Australia, generally speaking, we don't do death well. And I would love us to do that, because it's going to touch all of us, and it's such an important part of life. And even what you said earlier, actually, I wanted to touch on. I had a brush with death very early on. So I was hit by a car when I was a kid, and I was in a coma for months, and they lost me a couple of times and all things. So big deal, not to me, because I was unconscious for it all. So but after that, and it's taken me till I'm over my mid-50s, right? There you go, full out on the table. I'm 57, and it only 2 years ago did I actually, I think, realize that's what shaped my life. I've had that brush with death, and I've never, the only time I was really frightened of dying was when my children were really little and my husband and I didn't have extended family. And I thought, if something happens to me, my husband's going to be devastated and he won't lean on anybody. And that was when I was concerned. But I think when you have that relationship with not the possibility, when that's going to happen, and it can happen any time, you live life. And like you were saying, maybe you take some risks that you wouldn't, or you just think, why wait, let's do this. And I know you've made some life decisions that it's bravo, and it's probably come back to that, So I think we live a better life so we can have a better death.
Yeah, I agree. And I remember being told that by a Buddhist group in Thailand when I was in my 20s, and me at the time just being horrified, like, oh, I'm not going to be concentrating on that. That's disturbing, But then as you sort of get older and you start to realize, oh, okay, yeah, that actually really does help to be more comfortable with the reality of it.
You don't know, so I think it does. I think when you have that relationship with death, that who knows, you live life, you appreciate what you have, and you wake up, I'm alive, and I'm not a rainbows and butterflies kind of person, and that's certainly how I feel.
Yeah, me too. It's interesting too. You were talking before about the end of life care, and I was thinking about, it's like that end of life body care, like particularly if you're going to choose to go down bring the person home, visual, look after the body yourself. Like, I have no idea what's involved in that. That I was so clueless. It reminded me of when I had my first baby. All of a sudden I have this body. I have no idea how to look after. So it was so helpful. Because I believe that the spirit takes time to detach from this body. I don't think it's like it might be, I don't know, who knows, but certainly in my experience that the body and the spirit needs time to get used to the new arrangement.
Different. A lot of people believe that.
Yeah, and having somebody there who knew how to care for her and show me how to care for her, it's very much like an infant, isn't it? I mean, there's lots of things that you need to deal with that are like that.
That's right. And how wonderful that we have people who can do that. So our end-of-life doulas, that's what they do. And again, that word care, they're so gentle in their way. And I know I'm speaking really generally. I've crossed paths with many doulas, and I can unequivocally say the ones that I've met, care and gentleness and respect. Absolutely. And they're there to help you. So, so talking about taking a person home, your person home, talking about having a funeral, maybe having someone cremated and having a memorial, just having something with the family. It's so different for everybody, but it's about identifying you have a choice and we're putting some serious thought into what you would like so you can help your family when you pass. And talking, this multi-generational thing is amazing too. So there have been some studies where next generations aren't too good at this, but you can jump. So grandchildren talking to parents, to grandparents, that's happening at the moment, which I'm so excited about, and just opening up the conversation. So this reminds me of another conversation I've had recently with a co-worker, an ex-co-worker, and they had a family member who was terminally ill, and they had another family member who was looking after them, and they just couldn't get that conversation started. And when they tried, it was all uncomfortable and no, and another time. And then we just spoke about different ways of starting that conversation. And it doesn't have to start with, well, what do you want? What do you want when you die? What a question. Oh my gosh, that's huge. If you
I thought about it. What do you mean? Why are you thinking about me dying?
I just want to think about it. Hold it. Just think. But how about the invitation just to think about it? Don't make a decision. Just think about it. And then it's like, well, I don't know. What can I do? Oh, let's find out what you can do. And there are some amazing things that you can do these days. So, I'm really excited. And you've already started today talking about death over drinks. And I cannot tell you how excited we all are. So for all of you listening, so there's Katrina and myself, there's Ruth, who you've met, and there's Kirsten, who you've met, and then we've got Bernadette. And the five of us together, it's just so exciting because we feel this is the start of something big. So this is the start of getting people who aren't really in our wheelhouse, I'm hoping we're going to be able to get out to other people that go, I haven't thought of that. This sounds interesting. And then, we'll get to that stage where it's commonplace.
Yeah. And what a great place to start the conversation. And, and if, like, I've heard a lot of people talk about it too, as in, maybe some of the older generation or the people around them aren't that interested, but they've got friends that are interested. And certainly, around me, my friends, maybe they've approached their family to talk about end of life planning or what they want, and they've been met with like, oh, what? and then one in particular was able to say, I'm sorry this is so confronting for you, but should it happen, just contact Kate. She knows exactly what I want. She'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Oh, great. And then they're relieved, because you've got this person that's on the same page, and maybe that's the person you should bring to death over drinks.
That's right. Exactly. And I've heard the same conversations with friends, and the older in the relationship says, what? You think I'm going to die? And what are you going to die sometime?
Yeah, I hate to tell you, that's the biggest thing that's coming your way.
That's right. It is going to happen. And then even for the younger one, what do you mean? You're not going to die, and even my daughter, we had this conversation, you're not going anywhere. No, well, actually I am. That's the guarantee, but hopefully not for a while. So,
That's right. We're not saying we want it now. I certainly don't want it now, but I know for sure that if it had to be now and it was completely out of my hands, then I know how I want to do it.
Yeah, which is great. And I hope you've told people.
Yeah.
Yes, very good.
And in the process, because my mum was very clear about what she wanted and we were able to execute it, and the people around her were able to be part of that, they now want that as well.
That's amazing.
Everybody's just like, yep, this is what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Bring me on home.
Yep, love it. And it's not something that's obscure or different or, it's just, oh my gosh, it's home. And that's how I feel. Like I love my home, where we celebrate, where the kids have been little and all of the things. I don't want something to happen to me outside of my home and then be whisked away and never come back home. And I said to my husband, you don't have to have a vigil at home. You don't have to keep me overnight. I would just like to come in for a couple of hours, and people who would like to come while I'm there can come. And then if you're not comfortable with me being there, it's okay. You can send me off to my next one, but I need to come home and say goodbye.
But I can almost 1000% guarantee that the minute he gets you home, it will feel so natural.
Yes.
That it'll be the best thing that's ever happened in such a tragic circumstance. And
I absolutely agree. And it's funny, I'm talking, and here we go. This is how I talk, and Katrina knows this. I talk about it in circles, but when I was first looking at going into end-of-life practices, and my husband was like, really?
You're what?
Why would you want to be with all of those sad people? And it was because hopefully I can help, But my husband was and we had, or certainly he had, but we've known each other since we were 17 and we've been together since we were 21. So we had. A lot of his family passed when he was younger. And so he was, since I've known him, he's always said, I don't want anything. I'm dead. I don't care. Put me in a cardboard box. Now, back then when he said it, you couldn't, but now you can. So he's
That's
He's
right.
He's very happy to hear that he could be in a cardboard box. But he was really absolute. Don't care. I'm dead. Don't spend any money on me. Blah 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 blah. So okay, his choices. I'm going to, and I said, okay, but how about and my husband's we call it his midlife crisis. So in his 40s, he bought a little sports car, a little European sports car.
Of course he did.
Yeah, it's his little, it's his little girlfriend, So and just recently, our youngest, our daughter, was married. So we've got a son and a daughter, and I said, okay, so you don't care, you're dead, doesn't matter what happens. I said, so. And we call his sports car, he's given her a name, Moneypenny. So not because of James Bond, but because it costs a lot to keep her on the road. She's always breaking down. But anyway, I'm going to get trouble if he watches this. But I said, okay, so Moneypenny, you're happy to give that to your son-in-law? He went, but I said, but you'll be dead, you won't care. And then anyway, we spoke about a few other things, and as I've just revealed, we've known each other since we were 17. We've been together since we were 21. We got married when we were 25. We know each other pretty well. We're very close, and best friends and all of the things. But he surprised me with a few of his decisions. So there you go.
So glad that you have had this conversation.
Exactly right, because I said I never would have expected that you would want that. And he went, oh, well, I'm not sure. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. So, now he's thinking about it. So I think to our very first response when we start thinking about this, because yes, it's a bit icky and it's uncomfortable, and we don't want to think, one, we're not in control, and two, our plans aren't going to happen the way that we thought they might. But guess what? It might, but once you start and you get over that initial response and really start thinking about it, how lovely to have a real say in how you go out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's sacred. That's what I think it is. And I think we haven't been giving it the space that divinity requires to come in and out. I don't think we have. I think we have kind of gotten better at coming in, with how we do birth and how we treat that as something more than just a medical phenomenon.
Yep.
And I think we need to go that way for the end of life too. And someone told me the other day that with the aging population, like there's a lot coming our way, and that our services might not be able to manage it. So it might be forced back into the hands of families and communities. So get ahead of the game so that you're not caught in some sort of traumatic situation, where you can just handle it. Imagine
our services not being able to keep up with demand. Does that ever happen? Every day. imagine that happening. And we really have a severely aging population, and we've had, and also on top of that, and I'm not a statistician at all, but we've also got people who are living longer. So we've pushed that aging population to some limits.
Yeah.
So no, I absolutely agree. And and again, not having choice is somewhat, when it first happens, is somewhat of a relief, and it's just la la la, okay, this is what happens, but that divine happening that you were talking about, that I totally agree. I think whatever you believe, something really substantial has happened. This life as you know it has finished, and that and the words that I use is that this is too important to rush.
Yeah,
this is too important to not be involved in.
Yeah. And I guess that sort of leads into this advanced care directives are also part of the planning, aren't they? Are we I think we're going to have someone talking about that kind of stuff and have those resources at Death Over Drinks.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and this is all unfolding as we go, and more people are wanting to be involved, which is so exciting. But so I'm not sure that we have someone talking about it, but we definitely will have like a checklist. So and also an emotional will, and certainly, which is really important. And then we'll also in coming up, which is really important, because we're hoping to do these regularly. So come along, please. So then we'll keep doing that if the demand is there. I think the whole legal side of things as well, and the financial side of things as well. So just because that's what people think about, and I'm not making light of that because it can be a minefield.
Yeah.
But before all of that, this is really important.
Yeah.
But
it is less of a minefield if the person it is involving, you, has told everybody
what you want and your things are in order, so it's easy for family to do what you want it to do. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But thinking about the care that you want to receive, and again thinking about families I've spoken to this week that they've had to make decisions and it was solely theirs because they didn't know, they hadn't had that conversation.
Yeah. And I will be obviously forever in gratitude and respect for my mother and all the things that I didn't have to decide.
Yes.
But it was some really tough questions being asked at a time, 3:00 in the morning. 1 minute she's here, the next minute she's unconscious. They're telling me there's nothing they can do. Do you want CPR? Holy crap. Well,
don't ask me, but yes, they have to ask you.
Well,
yes.
they have to ask me, and I have to answer them.
Yes.
And it was probably the most difficult time that I've ever said no.
Yeah.
But she told me.
Yep.
If this happens, this is what I want. That would be unbearable for me. I don't want anyone jumping on me. So it was crystal clear and it was excruciating. But it was not even anywhere near as painful as it would have been if I would have had to ring my dad and my brother at 3 a.m. and say, are you okay if I say this?
Yep.
No, I could confidently say, these are her wishes. No, we don't want any of that. And when they came in the morning, I had to say this. Are you on board still? Yes, everybody. And nobody had to argue about it. Nobody had to get upset with each other. Nobody was getting crazy at me with, grief and rage, because they already know as well that she was under no circumstances to have that intervention if she was in that situation.
And what a gift. Yes, what a beautiful gift, and and I don't want to use the word guilt, but so many people have used it with me, with that they feel, did I do the right thing?
Was that the right thing? Yeah.
And then, like you said, substantiating it with other people, and but when you have that clear, this is what I want in my body, this is what I want you to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's easy. And again, with all of this planning, and if everyone can plan what they want and share what they want and be at peace that they're going to go one day and live life to their fullest, when they go, it's still going to be hard. It's still going, all of those things are still going to be there, but there's so much more of that angst that won't be.
And I could then invest all of my energy into the sacred divinity that was occurring in front of me, rather than being caught up in my own guilt or horror,
Yeah, or having those conversations with people who didn't understand, or, and all of that, it just goes away. It's just really, I think when I'm saying this, it's like, this is really easy. This is, why would you not do this?
Yeah.
Why would you leave your loved ones for that horrible time when it's so much easier for them, and you can have your wishes done.
Yeah.
You can have your wishes followed through on.
Yeah. Also not easy. But anyway, that's why we're going to do it with a drink in our hand.
Yeah, that's right. And yes, it isn't easy, but yeah.
Great. So, yes, Death Over Drinks is coming up 14th of October, 5 p.m. start. They can buy the tickets. So if you go to the Newcastle Compassionate Communities Facebook page, you can buy the tickets there on the event.
Yep, there's an invite with a link, so you can follow the link, or there's a QR code, so you can just read the QR code, and what it does is it takes you to the Humanitics site. So that's the platform that we're selling the tickets on. Or if you don't do any of those things, you can just go to Humanitics and look up Death Over Drinks, and you'll see Newcastle, Tuesday, 14th of October, 5 p.m. for 5:30 start till 7. And the tickets are $20, and the $20 covers you getting a drink, and there's pizza made on the premises. So that's what your money's going towards. So everyone else is volunteering their time. We'll have some great speakers there, and we'll also have some activities just to get you thinking, and light activities. So, and you can be as involved or not involved as you want, but you'll still have a drink and you'll still have some pizza. And then we're going to have You Can't Ask That segment as well. So that's, and again, you might come and we've asked that you put your questions forward first, because I'm thinking we're already going to have a lot of questions on the night. So so let's get them first, and then the ones that we can't answer there we'll answer later. But that's where you can get some things, some burning questions that you've got, or maybe the person next to you will ask the question for you. But yeah, it's really about getting us talking about this, normalizing the conversation, and giving you certainly some education.
Yeah, and connecting with people who can help you if you end up in a horrible situation suddenly, like I did. And
absolutely
laughing. We could have a bit of a tear, probably. I mean, I have to be honest, there's probably going to be a tear, but there's also going to be a lot of laughs. So.
There'll be a lot of giggles, I think. And we've invited all of the community, so the End of Life community. So we'll have a table there, and everyone and people who are listening to this, you're invited to come along and put your brochures and your things there, because we're very inclusive. We want our communities to know that there is so much out there to help you, and it really ranges from, there are different styles of everything. So it's about you understanding what's available to you, and gosh, if even at this earlier stage you can find who suits you and your family, well, then you're streets ahead, aren't you?
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I would not have known what to do, except that I knew that I should ring someone, and I rang someone, and that someone wasn't available, so they put me on to Ruth, and Ruth was also not available, but she put me on to someone who was. So
yes, and they were amazing
in this community. We will find someone to give you
right.
what it is that you need when you need it. Yeah,
that's right. And each of those someones would have been amazing. So so there's a big community. This is happening. There's a lot of people who are in this space, but the majority are not. So we want to broaden that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Paulina.
Thank you very much. I hope I didn't talk in too many circles, but yeah, it's always beautiful talking to you, Katrina. And yes.
Lovely. Thanks, everyone. Hopefully we'll see you there.
Yeah, thank you. See you on the 14th of October, 5 o'clock.
See you then.
Bye then. See you.